Hi guys, Mark's here, Everything Tenere. Welcome back to the second episode in my For Dummies series. I'm the dummy, and I'm going to try to teach you or inspire you to learn how to ride technical trails much more efficient and better, and manage to avoid and climb and get past obstacles. So I have some pictures. I will explain a few things, but first off, I have three different pointers which I will bring up and explain why they are important for me anyways, and hopefully for you as well, how to improve. So number one is balance. So balance is super important, as you know, especially when you're going slow speed. So going in a very slow speed on uneven terrain or surface with rocks, ruts, roots, logs, whatever, you need to be able to balance on your bike, and also counterbalance to shift your weight far off on one side of the bike and maybe lean the bike over the other side to not get a branch hitting your head or whatnot. Even when moving around and steering your bike, you might need to do this because you're going on a slow speed. So balance is very important, and we will get back to all these different areas and how you can practice that in real life as well. Number two is vision. This is planning your route or the line. So it's very important to, see where you're going, and we're all making this error all the time. You're just looking down on the ground just in front of the front wheel. That works, but it's very slow and it's not energy efficient. So you will have to stop a lot. You will have to put your feet down. You will paddle with your feet, going really slow. So vision and planning your route or your line is super important. So you want to keep your eyesight and your focus pretty far ahead on the trail to really see, take in, and process how it looks, how you could ride, and which is the best line if you need to stop, or you should throttle on, or prepare yourself to take a specific obstacle. So I will come to that later as well. Number three, that's momentum. So momentum is everything. Moving forward is everything. If you stop and then have to start again, stop and start, it's not the most efficient way, right, to ride a trail. And some specific obstacles you might need to have speed, and some obstacles it's easier to have a faster speed than going slower. But I will show examples of this as well. So that's the three main, focus points or areas that I see. So balance, vision, and momentum, right? And all these plays together and makes everything work, right? So you also need to know your limitation, right? And your limitation is something that we can build on, and you can get better very easily and very quickly. One thing holding you back is often that you're a bit scared and you think this looks scary and you will tip over or something like that. That requires a lot of training and a lot of testing your limitations yourself. So, going over one specific obstacle many times, feeling secure, and then, be able to take that obstacles without any issues at all, and feeling really, confident. So confidence is super important, right? So that's something we need to build on and train on. Also the bike's limitation. So what can you do with your bike? What kind of tires do you have on now? Is it, if you have 50-50 tires, it might be really hard to go through mud or climb hills in wet weather, or going over routes when it's wet and rocks and so on. So you need to know your limitations as well there, right? And that's something that you will feel after a while when you manage to, go through many trails and practice, and you know what speed you can have in this specific kind of surface or terrain, and you feel more confident. Then you know that, okay, if I would have better knobbies, this would not be a problem. So that's, how to play and how to see the limitations of your bike, of course, like suspension, whatever it can be, right? So training, that's super important. I have practiced a lot on big gravel parking lots, or in the playground, which I have here available, not too far from my house. And going around just playing, going over some obstacles, different speeds, trying out different stuff. And that has been the teacher in my mind, right? Me just playing around on different trails and different spots on different surfaces, because when you know how your bike handles different surfaces, you get more confident and you will be able to manage certain obstacles better and not chicken out, right? So, something you need to learn, especially do that as well with practicing balance, going really slow, trying to stand on the bike at the standstill without putting a foot down and whatnot. So the goal is that we should be able to ride standing up, and going on technical trails, you want to be standing up a lot, most of the times, or almost always on the trails, standing up riding. I'm doing mostly maybe 90% standing up when riding trails. The only time I sit down is when it's really flat surface and very even ground, and when I need to rest, because you get really exhausted riding technical trails, right? So you need to work on your fitness as well, so you have good cardio and strength, right? Core strength. So that's super important. So let's move over to a picture here, and I'm just gonna bring it up on my laptop. So first of all, we had balance that I talked about. Second of all, we had vision. So this picture here is from a trail, and this just shows you a little bit, and I will show you with a marker here on the picture where I'm looking. So you can imagine that when I was further back, I already saw the log over the trail, and I saw that it was very, very small, and that going to the right side, there was some gravel or some dirt in front of the log, so not really need to do a log jump, just ride straight over it. If I would have gone to the left side, for sure, I would maybe need to, push my suspension down a bit, hit the throttle, and raise my front wheel. Not really necessary for this size of log because it's very small, but anyway, so I take the smart choice, going to the right. But I'm also always at this point of time, I'm looking much further to see how the terrain looks up in front. I can see that there are some rocks there, nothing special, so very easy riding, and I could probably go on second gear and throttle up. And you can watch my other movies that I have, or clips I have on the enduro training and so on, and you can see how I'm riding, the speed I have, and also how I move on the bike, because you can see that I move a lot on top of the bike while the bike is straight, right? And this is just to counterbalance when moving over obstacles, rocks, and whatnot. So this next picture, this is a incline, so it's a little bit of a hill, and it's pretty rocky. You have bigger rocks, and this is something that goes to the point 3, the momentum. So going really slow here is not as good as going a bit quicker. If you have these size of rocks and whatnot, when you're going really slow, you might need to dab, put your foot down and whatnot. But if you have momentum and speed, your front wheel will pretty much float over these rocks. So you will take this little hill, especially when it's an incline. You need to, keep your momentum up so you don't stall or stop, because it will be harder to start again. So this specific hill here, I think I actually had second gear in, and I was going fairly quick over these. And it made it much easier. So I already traveled half the way up this rocky hill, and yeah, no worries at all. And it was the first time I went up this section of trail, and I didn't know what to expect. So, you know, vision here, super important. Look far ahead so you know the obstacles and which way to turn or which line to take. And I went for the right side here, on the right side of the rock up here that I'm showing right now. So yeah, that's it. Next thing is going downhill. And downhill, depending on surface, is very different and could be really scary. This doesn't look steep, but I can assure you this was a really steep downhill section. And you can see it's a rock surface. So I have good traction if I stay on the rock, but it's very important to lean backwards so you have your weight backwards, so you do not fall over the handlebars, and that you have as much downforce on the rear wheel, so when you brake you will have traction, right? Otherwise your rear wheel will just slip all the way down, and you will gain speed instead of losing speed, right? And I'm also, of course, vision here. I'm checking how is the landing spot here. How does it look down there on the flat? And see if I should go left or right, and that will be a decision further down here when I can see more, right? So this picture is just a little bit of a climb. It's a bit fuzzy, but these areas, momentum is everything, right? If you do not have speed up here, you will fail and you will have to stop. So it's either, you know, stop before and make up your mind, and maybe walk and check how does it look up there where I don't see. Can I go on the left side on this one and use like the berm as we call it? Because if you keep your momentum and speed, you can use the berm and go around it like a skateboard rider or something like that. And it's very easy. So many places you need to see, okay, the ground surface here, it's a bit loose in the middle of the rut. You know, it's more solid on the sides. If I have speed, and I came from the left here, so I will go far on the right on this rut, and then I will wave over, go over to the left side, because I know that it's a long right turn up here. So I will get the best momentum here because it's turning right on the on where you cannot see. So if you're uncertain, if you haven't ridden the trail before, if it looks scary, stop your bike, turn your engine off, walk and plan your line up, and see if, okay, do I have any hidden obstacles, and so on, so you know how it looks like. That way you can keep your speed up from the beginning, much easier, because you're not worried about any surprise coming up later on. This is the next one. So here we can see a pretty muddy place. At this point of time it was very dry. I've ridden this trail many times, so I know that I can go in the mud because it has a hard surface underneath. But when you come to rutty, or when you have a lot of ruts and a lot of water, standing still water and mud, you know, don't just go all in the mud, because if you're not sure about how deep it is, it could be really dangerous, so to say, but you can get stuck really easily. Otherwise, you know, if you keep your speed and momentum up going in a muddy rut, you have better success in getting out of the mud, so to say. But here again, you know, I didn't go in the mud. I kept my bike on the left side berm on this rut muddy hole, and was on the dry side, so no issue there. But this is all about planning your line, looking for the best line to take to succeed passing this obstacle, right? So this is not particularly hard obstacle. And I advise you to go back to my enduro rides and my, you know, dirt training videos, and to see how it looks there. And to practice your vision and your line selection and your route, I don't know if I'm special or in a bad kind of way, but when I'm taking walks in the woods, in the forest, on trails, just out exercising or just, strolling around with the kids in the woods, always when on trails, I look for the best line selection, even if I'm walking, right? So, but it's a good way to train your line selection. Walking on a regular trail in the woods, think about it and see, okay, if I'm going here, I should go there. Oh, this looks bad. Maybe I should select this other, go to the left or right on a rock or go over a rock. Okay, I need to brake here and then lighten my front and go over this rock or whatnot, right? So I'm practicing my route and line selection every time I'm out walking in the forest. I guess I'm just damaged, right? So, and yeah, that's pretty much it for this technical trail for dummies session. I hope you enjoyed it and that you maybe learned something from it. So I see you later, guys. I'm all good in my ribs right now, so I will try to get out. I just want to get a new set of tires, Michelin Tracker, to test out on the Enduro trails. Because it's pretty wet and cold outside, so the traction is not as good anymore. So take care, guys, stay safe, and don't do anything stupid like me. Cheerios, bye bye.